Okay. Doing a test with filming. So the fun part about creating rings and all the different things I create is always what's going to be the next step or the next thing that makes me feel like, okay, this is a good creation. When you are working on these things, you are going to need a lot of different tools. Nothing wrong with a good file. Get your edges good and clean. Now we're going to need to solder this in place. Honestly, don't want to go too far with the loop on that. So let's go ahead and just a little more of a bend. Okay. Very important. Must have your flux. I just cleaned my bench, so all of this looks so much better than it normally does. Okay, I use 5 different types of solder. I have extra hard, regular hard, medium, easy, and extra easy. On all of those, they have their place. Obviously, when you're starting something like a spoon ring, it's a good idea to have the hardest solder you can get to go ahead and create a really good solder spot that can take all the love and abuse you want to give it. Ah yes, and falling picks, they happen all the time. Okay. Biggest mistake I see people make when they end up boiling solder is they try to stay on the solder the whole time. And that's usually what creates the problem. The silver is what's going to absorb the heat. So you've got to get the rest of the silver hot enough. And sometimes you got to step back and up your flame a little. Your solder should want to absolutely melt into the spot you've created for it. Okay, good. I always turn back down my torch whenever I finish a spot. That's just an old habit from being very poor. Okay, we got a really good solder spot there. Solid. Okay, that's going to go in the pickle. There we go. Pickle's job is to deal with fire scale. Well, if you've really done fire scale, you're in trouble. But if you're using flux and you're doing things the way you should be in good shape. Now, while that one's sitting and curing, I'll go ahead and start on another one. My problem with rings is always I want to go too flamboyant. And I end up with a lot of people looking at the rings and going, I love that, but it's too much. Like, I know. Probably shouldn't have pushed it that far. I have long fingers. It's a blessing. But when I'm in creation, it can be a little of a curse too, because I want everybody to feel like they have wonderful long fingers, and there's a lot of people who don't. And I need to make rings for them too. And I want to make rings for them that they feel beautiful, not like they have short, stubby fingers. That's the other reason I like this open design. ends up making your finger feel like it's not as stubby. There's so much open space. You can have a large ring, but it doesn't feel too large. Again, this just comes down to personal taste. Plenty of people are making standard bands. Nothing at all wrong with that. I love making a standard band, but if I have my druthers, I'm gonna choose this. Oh wow, that just fell into place in the right place. Okay. Again, the key thing with silver is you have to be comfortable with heating the whole piece, because it doesn't tend to cooperate unless everybody's nice and hot. Once everybody's nice and hot, you can get a gorgeous solder spot. Flows beautifully, no boiling. Can't beat that. Okay, and the piece I was working on, ring I have made. This has already been through the tumbler, so that gives it the overall sheen of finishing without it actually being finished, which makes my life a heck of a lot easier when I get down to polishing. Because, there we go. A good magnetic finisher will toughen up the piece a little bit of work hardened. Oh, come back here. Yeah. That's just lovely. Okay. I like a variety of things when I'm setting a bezel. And there goes one of my pieces. What was it? No, no big deal. Okay. This is a bezel rocker. Very good. Nice and smooth. No complaints about that. It's a good standard beginner's tool that you can use very well to expert level without question. Quite love it. But it has its own issues. It likes to skip. Another one I like to use, just a good stone donut. Why do I like a stone donut? Because the stone tends to not scar the stone. And that's what you want. You want the stone, personally, so you have less risk of damaging what you're working on. This is a custom piece that I'm finishing up for a woman who owns a dog rescue and kennel outside of Waco. That she loved my rings, but she didn't want one that had too much going on outside of the stone because she has to work with dog leashes all the time. No problem, my dear, I understand. Okay. So, that needed to be about an 8. Bang on the dot. Now this is ready for a final polish. Okay. Let's grab our pieces from the pickle. Two very nice beginnings. I love the grace of the curve. There's a lot of women who don't really like their curves. You know what curves are? Curves are life. They're so forgiving, more so than we even know. You say you don't like your curves, I bet you'd hate it more if you were just had no differentiation in your shape at all. Okay, that started with an extra hard solder. Now I'm going with regular hard solder to create another little point there of strength, where the 14 gauge can mix with the 16 gauge and have a little party there for extra strength. Gonna get that 14 gauge nice and hot, because that's the part that's gonna be the tricky bit. Okay, now here we go with 16, starting to melt. Gotta get it a little warmer on the 14 so it just flows. Again, I've seen a lot of people who struggle with the concept of boiling solder. Honestly, you just gotta keep your flame moving. There we go. Yeah. Oh, baby, rest of the way in. There she goes. Okay, back in the pickle. Alright. This one I wanted to play with a bit more on shape and style. So, kind of pushing the envelope a little. One of the things I will tell you about silver wire, it has its things it wants to do. It wants to curve a certain way. It wants to move a certain way. My best advice I can give you is don't fight the metal. Metal has things it wants to do, and the more you fight it, the worse condition you're going to end up in. It may dictate to you a little bit what it wants to do. That's okay. Let it. Maybe this piece doesn't come out exactly the way you want, but you learned something. What's wrong with that? Okay, so this one I'm gonna... Got the beginning shape. Bring it around for a ring. Put a series of stones there. That'll look amazing. Probably let that feather on top of the finger like that. Okay. One of the things I love with the metal work is getting relaxed about this is the way it wants to work. I swear to God, it's like everything else in life. If you have to fight it, if you have to fight hard, there's probably a problem that you are not fully recognizing. So sometimes you have to breathe, take a step back, figure out why it's fighting you so hard. And a lot of times, if you take that step back, you end up finding out what you're about to do when you change the thing you're doing is going to be even better than what you originally envisioned. Well, this isn't going to hold true in every single circumstance, but I have found personally it holds more true than not true. I know a lot of metalsmiths that are wound very tight and struggle with everything they make. And it seems a shame. It doesn't seem like they have a lot of joy in what they're doing. And I know there's a whole theory about, you know, find your bliss. Find your bliss in what you're doing. Because you probably have something you're doing in your everyday life that drives you absolutely batty. There may be something you can find in that that can bring you joy. I'm not saying perfect joy. I'm not saying happiness. Recognize that joy and happiness are two different animals. Okay. Again. Now, since this is up in my third hand, there we go. So much easier to get it to flow. Again, you dance the flame a little. It cooperates more. There we go.